Welcome back to Casefile Commentary TV. This is part 3 of our America in Crisis series. Today we're diving into a startling shift in U.S. financial enforcement. Money laundering penalties have dropped sharply, raising big questions about accountability, crime, and government policy. If you care about the economy and justice in America, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss future breakdowns. In 2025, the amount of money the United States collected in fines for money laundering and sanctions violations plunged by roughly 61% compared with the previous year. In 2024, U.S. regulators handed out more than $4.3 billion in penalties for what's commonly called dirty money offenses, including violations of anti-money laundering rules and sanctions laws. But in 2025, that total fell to just under $1.7 billion. This dramatic drop has triggered debate among legal experts, business leaders, and everyday Americans about what it means for law enforcement and financial crime in the United States. So what caused this sharp decline? Experts point to a shift in enforcement priorities under the current U.S. administration. According to analysts, federal financial watchdogs have adopted a more business-friendly and less aggressive regulatory stance, pulling back from some investigations, particularly in areas like cryptocurrency firms. For example, regulators have recently eased or dropped enforcement actions that might have targeted crypto companies, a move viewed by some as signaling a broader tolerance for industry growth over strict oversight. In addition, changes in policy and fewer enforcement staff during periods of government disruption, including shutdowns and staffing cuts, have likely contributed to fewer penalties being issued. Critics argue this creates gaps in accountability, suggesting that less enforcement could embolden criminal networks, reduce deterrence, and weaken the U.S.'s role in international anti-money laundering efforts. Interestingly, this drop in U.S. penalties stands in contrast to other countries around the world. Nations such as the UK, France, Canada, Switzerland, and the United Arab Emirates have all increased their enforcement actions and fines for financial crime in 2025. Financial experts say this highlights a shifting global landscape where other jurisdictions are taking the lead in cracking down on illicit financial flows, while the U.S. appears to be easing its regulatory grip. This is important because the U.S. financial system has traditionally been a global standard setter for anti-money laundering enforcement. A retreat from that role could have lasting implications for international cooperation and financial integrity. So what does this mean for everyday Americans? Less enforcement can translate into greater risk of money laundering going undetected, the possibility of criminal networks exploiting weaker oversight, reduced deterrence for financial crime, and potential reputational costs for U.S. financial markets. At the same time, some policymakers argue that reducing enforcement red tape can boost business and economic growth. They say high penalties and aggressive regulation can stifle innovation, especially in emerging sectors like crypto and fintech. This debate weighing economic freedom against financial security is playing out in boardrooms, Capitol Hill, and public opinion. America's anti-money laundering enforcement has reached a crossroads. With fines dropping dramatically and enforcement priorities shifting, the question becomes, are we opening the door to financial crime or modernizing regulation for the 21st century? Let us know what you think in the comments. Should the U.S. crack down harder on money laundering, or should enforcement be scaled back to help businesses grow? If you want balanced, no-nonsense analysis of the biggest U.S. stories, be sure to like this video, subscribe to Casefile Commentary TV, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss part 3 of our America in Crisis series.